June 17, 2014 Board of Zoning Appeals meeting to order. If you would, please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, I'd like to introduce the board members, starting on my right.
Nancy Plesnarski.
Walter Recook.
Gary Willis.
Todd Chernick.
The Board of Zoning Appeals is a quasi-legal board composed of resident volunteers of the City of Milton. The board is charged with hearing requests for variances from the standards of the zoning ordinance and appeals of administrative determinations. With regard to decisions on primary variances, the board's basis for decisions provided by these four considerations. A, relief if granted would not offend the spirit or intent of the ordinance, and B, there are such extraordinary and exceptional situations or conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property that the literal or strict application of the ordinance would create an unnecessary hardship due to size, shape, or topography, or other extraordinary and exceptional situations or conditions not caused by the variance applicant. And C, relief if granted would not cause a substantial detriment to the public good and surrounding properties. And D, that the public safety, health, and welfare are secured and that substantial justice is done. Any adoption or amendments on the agenda tonight?
No.
We need a motion, please.
I recommend we go ahead and follow through on the agenda as put in the record.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor of adoption of the, raise your right hand, it passed. We need a motion to approve the May meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion for approval of the minutes for the May meeting.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second from Nancy Plesnarski. Do we end the discussion? All in favor of adoption May meeting minutes, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. So pass unanimous. Consider a primary variance V14-010. Angela, will you please present?
Yes, sir.
The site, 496 Branyon Trail, is a single-family home located in the Crabapple Crossroads subdivision. The property consists of 0.174 acres and is Zone T3 per the Crabapple Crossroads Form-Based Code. The owner, Ram Prakash, purchased the home in September of 2013. The builder gave him an option of two fences. Mr. Prakash chose the 100% opaque fence, and that's the two options are shown on attachment A in your packet. He hired Chamblee Fence Company to install the privacy fence around his property in December of 2013. He received the HOA approval for the fence, however, he did not obtain a building permit from the City of Milton. The fence that Mr. Prakash installed does not meet the requirements of the Crabapple Form-Based Code. Section 4.7.1b states that fences shall be a maximum of 50% opaque above 42 inches in height. For a 5-foot tall fence, the top 18 inches should have some sort of open treatment, typically a lattice treatment. Since Mr. Prakash chose the 100% opaque fence, a variance is required. Design Review Board comments. On June 3rd, the DRB offered the following comments. Add landscaping where the fence is visible from the road, per the approval of the city arborist. The part of the fence along the front of Branyon Trail should be the required lattice, and stain the entire fence to match the neighbors. Additional department comments. The staff held a focus meeting on June 4th, 2014, and none of the other departments had comments. The standards for consideration were stated earlier, and the applicant responds as follows. The position and height of the fence are the same as the others in the neighborhood. I followed the direction given by my builder and HOA and received HOA approval. This fence is one of the 2 wood fences allowed by the HOA. I was not aware that I needed a fence permit. Both fences look the same. Their height and type of wood are the same. Recommended conditions. Should the board choose to approve the application, staff recommends the following conditions. Add landscaping where the fence is visible from the road per approval of the city arborist. Replace the part of the fence along the front Branyan Trail with the approved lattice, and stain the entire fence to match the next door neighbors. And just so you know, on attachment A, this is the document that he sent to the HOA for approval of his fence, and the two fences on the bottom are the two wooden privacy fences that were the option. He installed option A, and the second one is the fence that would meet form-based code requirements. And that completes the staff presentation.
Any questions to staff from the board? Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you very much. Angela, I know I sent you an email yesterday about not seeing an actual variant sign in front of this property. And in fact, I was there and the homeowner came home and went right into the garage. I tried to signal the applicant when they were in the garage, but they just closed the door. I'm sure I scared them. Just standing there kind of waving and trying to get their attention, and I just felt like I didn't want to go up to the front door. But they did not have a Board of Zoning Appeals sign in front of their residence. Is there any type of ordinance that requires that the sign be present, especially the day before the meeting?
The ordinance does require that the sign be posted 20 days before the meeting, I think. I do have a picture. The applicant did send me a picture of the sign posted at that time, and I emailed the applicant, and he said it had been removed for HOA grass cutting and whatnot, and that he had since replaced it.
Okay, and as far as the legal ramifications of this, what is our legal responsibility for this issue, Counselor?
I was trying to find the exact language in the code. And if there is evidence of a significant period of time, I mean, if it were down for a couple of hours because of mowing and they came home and put it back up, I would say we'd be fine. If it was down for a week out of the 20 days, I'd have more concern. So I guess I need to hear how long, or what evidence there was as to how long it was or wasn't up.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions of staff? This time we'd like to call the applicant forward, so please present. And if you would state your name and address for the board, we'd certainly appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. My name is Ram Prakash. I live in 496 Branyan Trail. The fence board the variance board was removed on Thursday because we received the email or notification from our HOA that they are going to cut the mowing as well as the fertilizing the grass. So I removed on the Wednesday evening, and yesterday I received the email, and yesterday evening I again installed it. My neighbors or everyone else aware about this case because when they see, they reached out to me, what's going on with me. So I can produce, if you want, I can get their confirmation as well.
Okay, any questions to the applicant from the board? Yes, sir.
I can understand you being asked to move things out of the grass, but it looks like there's a lot of other areas in which you had pine straw that would not have impeded a lawnmower or, for that matter, fertilizing. Why didn't you just put it in a pine strawed area versus somewhere in the grass?
So we got the direction that we need to install just near to the litter box, and my litter box is installed on the grass.
what it looks like right underneath and you say the letterbox or the mailbox?
Yes.
Is that not pine straw underneath that mailbox?
No.
And I
Right there.
well, that's what I'm saying. I see
Yeah.
pine straw there, and there's a street tree as well up by the sidewalk. Okay, but you say it was up, you removed it on Thursday, then you put it back up on Monday. So that means basically it was down Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I know Monday, I didn't go by there till around 2 or 3 o'clock. I guess it was probably around 3 or 3:30 is when I went by on yesterday. So, okay. I guess my next question to you is, why should we give you a variance? What's the reason that this site is so much different than any other neighbors that would make us want to give you a variance? What's the particular issue that's different than any other site?
So first of all, I would like to say I apologize that I was not aware that I need to secure the fence permit before installing it.
And things happen.
I'm the first time homeowner, new to the country, and when I bought a new home, my builder gave me a set of documents before the closing by saying that for the fence approval, you need to go to the HOA, and he provided me a letter of contact details. I did reach out to the HOA. If you see the attachment A, those two diagrams has been given by me. My builder didn't inform me that I need to go. I'm sorry, Angela, I'm just trying to explain myself.
That's fine, you should.
No, that's why you're there.
So I reached out to my HOA by saying that I'm seeing that my neighbor is having a different type of fence, but when I took a quote from my fence company, another option, the cap privacy is $2,000 economical. So can I go ahead with this? My rationale was that the latest one is 7,000, and the cap provides privacy is the 5,000, with the same word what my other neighbor has put, and they approved it. They said that we don't have any problem. You go ahead with that. And I have the email confirmation. I installed it. I did the closing in September 2013, installed in December 2013. Angelia came back to me by raising a court violation conduct by May, in the month of May. My justification is that, first of all, if I could have known that this is what the process that I need to go with the permit, I should have done it. This is purely unintentional. If you look at the appeal, my appeal letter, I have given the comparison between both type of fence. Everything is same. It's just a matter that the top 1 feet is the lattice. And I have a couple of pictures here. If I would like to give it as a comparison between my neighbors and mine. And if you look at my neighbor's fence, which has the top 1 feet as a lattice, you'll not be able to see. So if you're saying that mine is opaque and they have a transparency, they don't have. It's just a design, that's it. Is good.
Any other questions?
Are you-
So the,
Yeah, go
may I
ahead. No,
Yes, ma'am.
okay, so the top page is your neighbor's, and then this is yours?
Yeah, the right hand side is mine, left hand side is.
So
the-
this is his neighbor's. That's it.
Just to also help me understand, your next door neighbor is not necessarily a homeowner. There's another, on the other side of you, who's next door to you over there? Is that not a radio antenna? Is that not, it doesn't look like you have any homes. If I'm staring at your house on the street and I look to the left, there looks like there's a radio tower right there. So it doesn't look like you'll have any adjoining homeowners that are going to be next to you. Is that correct?
Yeah, my home is at the cul-de-sac.
Yes, sir.
And towards the east of my home, there is no home. Those are the woods,
Right, so there's no one over there that would get disturbed if they saw your fence that was slightly different, because there would be no chance for that other person to put a fence up that would be different than yours. Is that correct?
right, I'll say yes.
Okay. And then also, I noticed driving through the neighborhood that there seemed to be quite a few other homes that had fences that are similar to yours and are not necessarily have the lattice work on it.
Correct, sir.
And I drove around, and I have to say, I spent probably 30 minutes, and I probably counted 20 homes.
Yes.
So it seems like there is an inconsistency somehow in the neighborhood
Yes.
of the communication being made, what the city requires, as well as what the real options are.
Yes, sir, you very well said. Within the same community, there are a couple of homes which are built in 2012. If you see, they already have a pretty much same kind of fence which I have it.
Sure.
Can I just ask a clarifying question on
Yes,
that?
sir.
The fences that we're describing as being similar, are they in design, are they also similar in height?
Yes.
Because the trigger point is 42 inches. So if it's over 42 inches, then it can't be so opaque. And you're saying they're of a similar height?
They all are at the same size, same height.
Okay.
And some of them also look like some of them are stained slightly different. I saw some that were white. I saw some that were stained natural. Can't say I found any that were stained green or anything else, but it was typically a wood color, a wooden stained color. But I did see some that were white.
I would like to promise that I will stain it with exactly the same color what my other neighbors are doing, so that once after the staining, it should look like pretty much same.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any letters of support from any of your neighbors?
So there is a HOA meeting happened recently, and I raised my point there, and everyone was supportive to my case. My HOA has been transferred to the community people. They would like to know more because their response was that they would like to learn it because this is first time they are hearing such kind of thing.
Okay, so aside from you having approval from your homeowners association, you don't actually have support from your immediate neighbors?
I shared this with my immediate neighbor, my front neighbor, and they said that I don't think that this fence is a bad quality fence or bad looking fence, so they don't see any issue.
I noticed that your fence if I'm facing your house, the house on the right, their fence is further back than yours. And yours is up closer. And I guess I should have asked Angela. Angela, is there any problem with location of the fence as far as being at the front of the house versus being at the middle or rear of the house by code?
You can't have an opaque fence in the front layer at all. Front layer would be anything from the edge of the house to the street, and then it'd have to be smaller.
I guess this is in front of the house.
Anything from the edge of the house back.
Isn't it in front of the house?
See, that's the front. And see how their neighbors are back here?
Mhm.
So, okay, so there's no problem with what they've got built. Okay,
Location-wise, it's fine.
okay. And one of the conditions I guess staff is asking for is to put landscaping in front of that fence that adjoins the street, I guess. Do you have any problems with that condition? To make it more hidden so that perhaps a shrub will grow up tall enough so you wouldn't notice that discrepancy?
I don't have any problem.
Okay.
Any other questions for the applicant? Since there's no public comment, if you'd like to make a closing statement, you're more than welcome. You don't have to, it's up to you.
I really appreciate you hearing this case in details. As I said that if I could have known it, I could have followed. I respect all the laws, but this is purely unintentional. I would request if you can grant me the variance.
Thank you. Any questions to staff? I don't have a question, but I do have a statement.
What?
The last two fence applicants that have come before us, the one with an opaque fence, we denied because it just wasn't the guidelines of the city of Milton. I understand how this happened. My only concern now is it may be easier for citizens of Milton to build a fence opaque like this and then come to the board and pay their $250 and say, sorry, it's already up. That's my only concern.
Can we at all contact the HOA associations?
Well, usually this stuff is done before it ever gets to us. See, there's the
Yeah.
problem. But my only concern is that people are just gonna put up fences and then come to this board and say, it's up and I apologize. And I'm not saying you did anything wrong. This is just what's happened in the past to us, and I just wanted to make that statement.
Well, the point I think Nancy's making is it seems like this is not the only incident in this HOA.
Looks
It
like
might
it,
be worth
yeah.
the city notifying the HOA, so as they
Yeah.
hear more cases, we can get
Yeah.
ahead of it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
basically, is there any fine set with the HOA if they're not telling their residents what the process is? I know in our association, they tell us that we do need to go before and get the permit. And they should be telling the homeowners what needs to be done.
Well,
I just think it sets a bad precedent.
Yes, I agree.
and one of the problems I've got is, and I live in a neighborhood, we all got letters just recently about how we all need to paint our mailboxes. They told us that all our mailboxes need to be painted black, and it needs to be painted glossy black. Well, I read the code, and the code said, no, it was supposed to be flat black. And that's exactly what I did, because I wrote the code. So I said, man, I thought he did that wrong. And sure enough, it was wrong, and that's what I painted it. Then I got another letter saying I'd have to repaint my mailbox. Why I bring this up is I think homeowners associations are like us in general. We make mistakes.
Right.
And I think that when a mistake is made, they need to be made aware of it. And if I can implore upon you, if we did go through approval, that I would ask that you notify the HOA of this problem with the city and perhaps get them in touch with staff to get this issue cleared up. And perhaps a letter to the community in general may help clarify it. But again, I looked around the neighborhood. It was not, I mean, I spent a lot of time out there trying to understand, was this different? And then the other thing, I think, in your defense, you are right next down to a radio tower, that you will never have anybody living next to you. And to me, that makes it a little bit easier to swallow than it would be if it was in the middle of the neighborhood
What?
with homes. And then-
I don't have a problem with this. My problem was those two applicants that were here before us before,
Right.
that we denied, and they couldn't do this. And
Well-
now when they hear that we've approved this one, and the word's gonna get out.
But here's the issue that's different. In this neighborhood, there are, just about every house has a fence. I mean,
Illegal fence.
well, they either have the one, and if you look at the example he gave of his next door neighbor's fence, it's 80% opaque. That's the other fence.
I agree.
And
They're all
and,
illegal.
Well, not illegal, because obviously the staff said it's okay
It's
for
supposed
the
to be,
ones with the
it's supposed
lattice.
to be 50%.
That
Oh.
lattice one that you've seen, just so you know, the director, via the form-based code, is allowed to give warrants, kind of administrative variants, and so she's given warrants for that
Sure.
particular lattice. There are a few that have the correct 50%.
Correct.
Some of those fences were put up before we started
Right.
this, and so we said, well, the lattice ones we'll leave alone. We haven't decided on the opaque ones yet. And just so you know, staff has contacted the HOA, and we've told them what the requirements were, and we've told the builder, we've told the HOA, they need to get fence permits. And the fence companies know, they just
Sure.
Wow.
choose to
So,
ignore
so
that
Angela,
sometimes.
my question, is the one with the lattice work, is that an acceptable fence for the city of Milton?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's what I'm saying. This neighborhood, the other two that we've been discussing, the ones that we denied, one was not necessarily in a neighborhood, it was on a main street. And the other one that
It was gonna
was,
look just like that.
of course, and that was on a main street.
And it was in his
not-
front yard too.
It was
in
a-
his front yard, in front of his house. And then the second one was a person who didn't put it up, they wanted it to surround their house. And again, we told them no. And unfortunately, in this neighborhood, I would say that every house, just about every house out there has a fence. And whether it's the one with lattice or the other type, I mean, I did not see a lot of them that did not have a fence. And help me if I'm wrong, and that's where I'm saying is, this is very standard. Only thing I was a little bit shocked about was allowing the fence to be as close to the front of the house. I would have, typically neighbors I govern, I always made them to go at least to the middle of the house, so it's not so much close to the street. But that's what the city says is allowed, and that's what's allowed. I guess I'm kind of leaning to give them the variance. I also understand that they did not have their sign up. I understand why now. But I think this is something we got to stress to applicants that, if we drive by and the day before the meeting, you're not there, you're going to be given a hard time about needing your sign up. And we're out to do it. But I think in this case, in harmony with the rest of the community, I think this fence has been placed at other homes. I can see by adding these conditions, the staff feels that it could be made acceptable, and I'm kind of favoring and making a motion towards.
Trying to talk you into it, or me?
Not
So
necessarily.
I think what's important, not only for the board to remind, but for the applicant as well, each case is unique. So we don't establish precedent by any decision, because each case is unique in its, and in this case, the standards for consideration, given the surrounding properties, there's not a substantial detriment to the surrounding properties because it's pretty much in conforming with. There's not a safety, health, and welfare issue. There are some extraordinary and unusual circumstances here where he thought he was following a process, and he is conforming around his neighbors. There is some topography and orientation where it's not such an imposition in the neighborhood. The one that I think that you probably grapple with the most is, does it offend the spirit or intent of the ordinance? And the spirit and intent of the ordinance is not to have these kind of fences. So that's the one where judgment, and again, I think you look at all the considerations and say,
3 out of 4 isn't bad.
well, I have to meet them all.
Right.
But I hear your point loud and clear. So with that, I make a motion on petition number V14-010 to allow 100% opaque fence, to approve with conditions of adding landscaping where the fence is visible from the Branyan Trail, and to stain the entire fence to match the neighbors.
And what about getting the arborists to?
Landscaping per the arborist recommendation.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Do we have any discussion? We have a motion and a second to approve fee 14-010 to allow 100% opaque fence with the following conditions. Add landscaping where fence is visible from road per approval of city arborist, and stain the entire fence to match the neighbor's fence. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same side. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you for choosing our community, and I hope you'll enjoy your home. Good luck.
Question. What will be my next act? Do I still need to hold this board in front of the home, or?
No, you can take the
You
sign
can remove
down.
that. Your next thing would be to contact Angela to identify how to hook up with the city arborist.
Thank you.
Have a
Good
great
luck
night.
to you.
Good luck. Consideration of appeals, there are none. Any old business? Any new business? Yes, sir?
Just to clarify, this is the second time I'm bringing up a sign issue. I almost feel like we may need to have something that's a little bit firmer as far as where the sign is, and perhaps, that it's 20 days. I mean, that's the only thing that bothers me, is that,
It should be visible in
You know.
the front yard, and it can be in, I would think, the mulch and.
And I will say, because I want everybody to hear me.
yeah, of course.
it gets to the point of a technical reading of it could arguably say if it is down for any period of time, then you have not complied. And the question then really boils down to, what's in the interest of fairness, and just the idea is to get the notice up so that your neighbors know that something's going on. And that's really what it will boil down to. I mean, if we went into court and someone said, I know, but it was down for half an hour, or he pulled it down for 30 seconds while he ran the mower over it, and he put it right back up, which is close. I mean, this was sounded like it was a few more days. It was 4 or 5 days. It sounded like, but there are. I'm comfortable that no one is going to complain, that we probably won't. And the worst case scenario, if someone wants to challenge that, is, okay, you re-advertise it and you do it all over again, and chances are you're going to get the same result from the board 30 days from now.
But if we have to re-advertise, could we not charge them for the new advertisement?
I'd have to look into that.
What if it's not the applicant that's taking the sign down? What if it's a disgruntled neighbor?
Well, and that's
Who
another
knows
thing.
that
Yeah,
technicality in their case?
theoretically.
They could do that.
Yeah. So they're
So-
just gonna make it hard on them to keep deferring, like yanking the sign.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I mean, there's
That's happened before.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah.
I know.
They
I
do.
had one.
And lawn people come
involving
by,
the
and
zoning.
sometimes they just,
I think we as staff kind of have to evaluate
There's
whether
some
we
judgment.
yeah, I mean there is. I mean, yes, we can. I mean, from your testimony, the sign was down for some period of time. Technically, I think we could argue that's a technical violation. We could say, come back. You look at kind of the totality of the circumstances and say, now granted, okay, there's no one here because nobody saw the sign. But from the testimony, we can infer that the neighbors were aware of the situation, and it was up for some period of time. I'm reasonably comfortable in this situation saying, we'll go forward. If someone were to challenge it, worst case scenario is we do this again.
But we did have a separate case, and I think this one is worth noting, where the applicant didn't post it and didn't provide evidence of posting it. And that's kind of an applicant then.
Yeah, exactly, and that's where you say, okay, if there's no explanation and there's reason to believe it, and if there's opposition,
Right.
Where you're going to get challenged anyway, or potentially challenged, you don't want to make it just a call just on that, but just kind of, again, you got to look at everything to make it, whether it's reasonable to push it off or not.
Can I make a related point? And that is, I don't know how, I'm sure you interact with these applicants a lot. But in cases like this, it certainly is helpful if we get support from the neighbor, and relaying that to the applicant, that's something that this board, in these situations does look at. For me, it would have been nice.
One of the problems, and I'm just telling you from my days in government, getting a letter from support, especially if they're not from this country, they don't like to get involved.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
They do not like to get involved. It's like, I don't want to get involved. I don't want to get my, that's between you and the government. I don't need to be.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's the neighborhood. It's not. It looks like it's got a number of different people living in the community.
But I just don't know, as a general point, if you make that point or encourage them. Your point is, I run into that
If
myself.
you have some sort of package
Is
or
there a
anything
check
like that?
off? Like, can they go online? And some people can't go online. I understand that. But, I mean, is there like a check off that you go over and this? And
Yeah, there's a checklist for the variance application. I mentioned the letters to them, but it's not a requirement for zoning, so I can't force them to bring the letters.
well, I would put encourage them,
Right. And in fact, the one that we heard on that Wood Road, she couldn't get anybody to sign the
right, because
letter.
they were all against it.
Right,
And,
which that's part of what we're looking for, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
So that's the other opposite thing. How do you get a letter saying we're all opposed? We got one did it, but the others did not. So
Well, nobody wants
Because
to.
people don't want to get involved,
They
especially
don't.
in opposition.
that's right.
Yeah.
oh,
But,
my
but
Lord.
again, so you're saying it's not necessary to rewrite the ordinance in relationship to signs, and it's just something that we just need to
I mean,
make them aware of, and when we do see an issue like that, let Angela know, and that's what I did. I took pictures and I sent it to her right
I
there.
mean, it could be written to say, the best of the applicant's ability, not their fault.
Sure.
Most, primarily remains up. It could be written, but kind of take that approach to it as we, enforcement. There's always some judgment in enforcement, even, at a criminal level.
It was up last Wednesday, because I drove by last Wednesday, and it was up
Okay.
on Wednesday morning.
Okay, good.
But
But I think it surprises them that somebody sees it down. And I think that's good.
oh, I do too. I think it's good they know.
Yeah, he didn't want to take it down now. He's like, well, can I take it down now?
Well, and he's also not from this country.
Yeah,
It's much harder to go through government when you really know nothing about
I'm with you.
it. So I get that. At least he didn't want to sign. Any other new business? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn this
Do we have a
meeting.
second? I'll second it. Any discussion?
We just forced
All in favor of adjournment, raise your right hand. Opposed, same side. Good night.
Good job, Walt.
Angela, can I throw these
You
out?
too?
Okay.
I didn't want to be hard to go.